Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I wanted today's topic to be about the new... I kind of just want to go over my thoughts, feelings, and whatnot over while Guthix sleeps, and especially the topic of tormented demons that's been going around the community right now. I kind of realized pretty quickly the last time I made like a news type video where I went over news like right away, kind of like, you know, every other OSRS YouTube channel, that I just don't have the time to keep up with making videos for news as soon as they come out, as much as I would like to, simply because I have a full-time job and this is not one of them. As much as I would like RuneScape and YouTube to be my full-time job sometime in the future, unfortunately that's just not today. So as of right now, what I'm thinking about doing, and I'm kind of starting off with today's video, is, and as you can see, I just have some random footage of me playing in the background. Whenever I happen to just be ranting about random stuff, I'll just have footage in the background to keep you guys' eyes entertained if you're watching. Otherwise, you can just listen if you're just listening it off to the side while playing. That's something I like to do. I always like to have some sort of video or RuneScape podcasts happening in the background just to listen to as I'm doing my grinds, especially since there's a lot of really long grinds in RuneScape, or old school RuneScape I should say. So I feel like it would be nice if there was a mix of that sort of thing on the channel for you guys to consume and entertain with. So on that note, let's go ahead and get started with today's topic, which is going to be about mainly tormented demons, but starting off with while Guthix sleeps. I'm gonna go ahead and give my thoughts about it, then we'll go on to some of the updates that they just released today at the time of making this video, discussing the feedback that they've received. And oh boy, can I begin to tell you, the feedback has not been great. Has not been great at all. It's been largely negative. If you haven't done the quests yet, or you haven't bothered grinding the tormented demons yet, let me just say, you're kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say you're doing yourself a favor, but I would more so say you don't need to feel rushed to complete it. I'll just say that right now, okay? It's not like the previous last 10 quests or so that we've had, where it's like, yeah, you kind of want to complete these because they give you a very good substantial reward for doing so. This time, it really feels kind of lackluster overall. Like, I feel like lackluster is the best word to describe this entire release as a whole. Okay, while Guthix sleeps, the quest as a whole, was pretty okay. The storyline was all right. Wasn't that bad. Mildly entertaining, and as somebody who actually enjoys doing quests, I actually read all of the dialogue. I find it mildly entertaining, especially as somebody who's never played while Guthix sleeps originally from RS2. This was my very first time ever doing the quest, so nostalgia is just straight up not a factor for me. This was decent. It was okay. Although I will say I obviously do have my fair share of complaints. The main one being, in terms of the quest at least, and the main one being that the quest just felt a little too easy for a Grandmaster quest, especially considering that literally every other Grandmaster quest we had, on top of the last Grandmaster quest that we had, which I want to say was Desert Treasure 2, are much harder. That's just it. At the end of the day, they're just much harder than while Guthix sleeps. In fact, I would basically advocate that if you have the requirements and stats to do while Guthix sleeps, I would almost recommend doing it now while it's easier, instead of waiting later, because as part of their feedback update that they just released today, they mentioned that they're going to be going taken a look at the quest again to see how they can make it just a little bit tougher. So it stands up to being called a Grandmaster quest. Because as of right now, I can say with wholeheartedness, this does not feel like a Grandmaster quest. This feels at most more like a Master quest. That'd be a better way to put it. It feels more like a Master quest. Considering that basically, because let me put it like this, without trying to give any spoilers for anybody who cares about spoilers. There's essentially, most of the quest is literally just you running around and talking to people. And you don't really need any complicated items. There's no hard to obtain items needed for the quest. It's all like basic stuff. Like you need one rune of like these runes. You just need one of each these type of runes. A knife, tinderbox, like a bullseye lantern, like just very basic common stuff. So that's not hard. Running around is honestly like, it's in a way it's almost kind of like Song of the Elves, where Song of the Elves is like mostly just running around talking to people. It's similar to that, but at least Song of the Elves had like 3 or 4 fights, like boss fights in the quest from what I remember. Whereas While Guthix Sleeps really only has 2. There's one in the middle of the quest, which arguably, in my opinion, was actually the hardest boss in the quest. In my personal opinion, the first boss was harder than the final boss, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion, especially since the final boss is supposed to be like the climax and stuff. Is that just me? Has anybody that done the quest kind of feel the same sentiment as me, or maybe feel differently? Yeah, it just, I don't know. The final boss felt kind of meh. Yeah, it just felt meh. I was like, this is kind of a basic fight. A little confusing. It was a little confusing because the color coding wasn't very intuitive. If you've done the quest, you'll know what I'm talking about. In terms of the golem guy. Yeah, but anyways, yeah, it just didn't feel very great overall. At least in terms of being called a Grandmaster quest, it just doesn't feel worthy of being called a Grandmaster quest. And part of that, segueing into Tormented Demons, is partially because of the rewards that you obtain from, or unlock, I should say, for doing the quest, which is having access to Tormented Demons. Now, part of the whole, okay, so for like the last month or two, the entire hype around While Guthix Sleeps has essentially revolved around like 2 or 3 things. One of them being nostalgia. For those of you who've actually played the original quest in RS2, that was probably one of them. It was not one of them for me, so that's out the window. That's not even relevant for me. Second one being the fact of like how big this, like lore-wise, this quest is supposed to be towards the lore of like Gielinor period as a whole. The Stone of Jas, that's not a spoiler because that's mentioned in like all of the trailer footage for the quest. That's been repeated for like the last month or so. The Stone of Jas is in the quest, which is basically what created Gielinor. Essentially, it created Gielinor, created the wilderness, introduced all of the gods, or most of the gods, I should say, created, and yeah, it's like a lot of the things that have happened throughout Gielinor's history were because of the Stone of Jas, and we come across it. So it's like, yeah, it's a big deal lore-wise. Regardless if you're a lore person or not, it's a big deal in that department. And as someone who likes lore, like I said, I'm a quest person. This was a bit of a hype point for me. Now, the last thing is pretty much the rewards. This is probably the main thing that people were looking forward to, let's be honest, is the rewards for the quest being farming tormented demons. Okay, assuming that tormented demons were going to be fun to farm against, on top of that the loot was actually going to be decent and, more importantly, obtainable, reasonably obtainable. And that's probably some of the biggest problems that people have been having with this whole release as a whole. Disregarding what I mentioned already about the quest kind of feeling a little lackluster compared to its so-called difficulty level, which, by the way, I should probably note that I forgot where I saw it, but I think one or two of the JMods actually mentioned that the reason they kept it... No, they actually mentioned that for today's standards, While Guthix Sleeps will probably be considered more of a master level quest. But because it was originally a Grandmaster quest when it first came out in RS2, they kept the same title for it. Which to me, like, don't get me wrong, I get where they're coming from with that argument. But at the same time, being realistic, that makes no sense. Like, if you know it's more of a master level quest in today's standards, just make it a master level quest. Like, why? Like, I know you're trying to play homage to, like, the original, but, like, just re-releasing the quest on its own is already paying homage to the original. You know what I mean? Like, there's no for something trivial like that. You're basically leading people's expectations down a false road, which just feels a little irresponsible on that end, in my opinion. Like, that doesn't seem too unreasonable for me to think that. Let me know if you think maybe it is, but I don't think it isn't. So on that end, yeah. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so leading into Tormented Demons. So the problem with Tormented Demons is the fact that pretty much the main selling point for the Tormented Demons is the new Demon Bane weapons that you could obtain from fighting the demons. Okay, let's be honest, that's pretty much the main reason why we're there. And on the side, you could also obtain the new Burning Claws, which for some reason got renamed to Bone Claws. I don't know why. I don't really like the name Bone Claws. Pretty much anything bone related in its name is just normally associated with like weak weapons, or very niche weapons that are associated with weak monsters. So it's like, why we called it Bone Claws? And especially since it's supposed to be a bridging the gap between a Dragon Dagger and Dragon Claws, it's supposed to be in the middle between those two items. The name Bone Claws, I don't know, and especially it just doesn't sound right. It just doesn't. I don't know. I don't like it. We voted on Burning Claws. Everyone was totally fine with Burning Claws. It sounded appropriate because, well, one of its mechanics is that it literally gives a monster burn damage. Like, it just sounds appropriate. Why did we change its name? I don't know. And in part of the feedback update they released today, they mentioned, yeah, we'll just change it back to Burning Claws. Like, why the fuck did we change it in the first place? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, so the rewards were pretty much one of the main selling points for the quest, was being able to unlock Tormented Demons so you can start farming them for access to the new Demon Bane weapons, which, let's be honest, most people farming for the Demon Bane weapons are doing it so they can start using it on some of the other demon-based bosses. Like, that's just it at the end of the day. One of them mainly being Krill. The new bow, the Demon Bane bow on Krill, is just busted. You can practically like perma-stun Krill using the bow's new special attack, which is absolutely insane. Like, that just looks so cool. Or should I say, as someone who's recently started playing an Iron account, okay, so I mostly play on my main account, which is almost max, and I pretty much have like Bisc gear. And having somewhat recently started playing a Iron account, I play on a group Iron Man. but I basically treat it as my main Iron Man account because I'm not planning to make a normal Iron Man account. I'm looking forward to that sort of thing. However, having been farming the new Tormented Demons on my own, and I might actually end up having some footage of me farming it in the background here. We'll see. Having actually farmed the Tormented Demons myself, I can tell you it just feels like complete ass. After you get through the first like 10-20 kills and you start getting used to the mechanics, and you kind of realize that it's basically the same, almost the same exact thing as Demonic Gorillas from Monkey Madness 2, except way more chill and easier to do than Demonic Gorillas, because they switch their prayers a lot. They switch their prayers and their attack styles a lot slower. Like, it takes a lot longer for them to actually change those things compared to Demonic Gorillas, where it feels like Demonic Gorillas are changing their styles like every other attack. So it's like mildly annoying because like it's not a hard monster to fight, but it's like just active enough where you can't AFK it, but it's not active enough to keep you really fully engaged. So you're just like there on the border of like brain rot, but like you can't really fully be brain rot and just zone out, because if you zone out you'll just die or take a large chunk of damage. That's something I never liked about Demonic Gorillas. I really don't like Demonic Gorillas, and I'm not really looking forward to doing Demonic Gorillas on my Iron Man when I eventually get to that point. Heck, I have the stats to go do Monkey Madness 2 right now if I wanted to on the Iron, but honestly I was kind of waiting for Wild Guthix Sleep to come out so I could finish that on the Iron, grind out the new Demon Bane weapons on the Iron, and then go Demonic Gorillas, because anything to help me just get past as much of Demonic Gorillas as quickly as possible is a win in my book. But now, because of just how terrible the Demonic Gorilla or Tormented Demons have been implemented in the game, I kind of just don't want to do it anytime soon. I'm just gonna wait for them to change Tormented Demons and make them feel better before I start doing it. Anyways, I'm going on a rant. Let me go ahead, before I start continue ranting about Tormented Demons, let me go ahead and go through today's feedback update that they did for the blog. Turn off my green screen here. Okay, so the feedback update. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of skim through it, go through the key note points. I'm not gonna read it for word. Loot tables. Essentially, long story short, there's been so much negative feedback, and I actually like bookmarked a bunch of like quite literally, if you just visit the old school RuneScape subreddit, it's just filled with posts. Like almost every single post that you come across is just negative about either Tormented Demons or about how lackluster the Wild Guthix Sleep quest was. Like, it's pretty much one or the other, and there's no in between. Like, it's just almost universally agreed that this release was just not there. Like, it was bad enough that a lot of people are questioning whether like there was any playtesting for this release, which is crazy because I explicitly remember them saying what was like a week ago or something, they were having like a couple of their mods doing some final playtesting on the quest and stuff before release. So it's like, that's just wild to me. Like, that's just completely wild to me. The fact it came out in its current state and they just, I don't know, they just didn't have the foresight to see any of this kind of, like, that's just crazy to me. Like, I don't get how that happens. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, don't get me wrong, part of the thing, man, maybe this is just because this is the first rant video that I'm posting on the channel, so it's like kind of everything's coming out at once. I'll try not to do that too much if I can help it, but don't get me wrong, when it comes to like designing and developing like cool bosses and environments and storyline for and whatnot for the game, I think the dev team does an amazing job. But one thing that I've started to really notice over this last year or so is that when it comes to balance, especially, the dev team seems to have a really hard time understanding how to balance stuff properly. And a lot of it just seems like very obvious stuff a large majority of the time. And it doesn't, and it's like, it won't be until after they release it and the community just gives like a large amount of feedback, like negative feedback about something, that they go like, yeah, in hindsight, we should have done that. Well, it's like, why was that in hindsight? That should have been obvious from the get-go. Like that, like, it's not even like, it wasn't even like a low-key type thing. It's like, no, this is blatantly in our face. Like, there's something wrong with this. How did nobody catch this? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And that seems to be happening quite a lot lately, in terms of just balance in general. But more as of late in terms of drop rates, in terms of either drop tables or drop rates or both. There seems to be a problem with that, which is actually related towards Tormented Demons that we'll be talking about. So long story short, they kind of updated and announced today, in regards to the feedback that's coming out, that they'll be taking a look at the loot tables. They've seen our feedback. They understand that everyone thinks everything is shit. All of the rates are just complete dog shit for Tormented Demons. Actually, let me go ahead and pull up the rates real quick for you guys so you can see what the estimated rates are on the wiki. Okay, because let's be honest, the wiki at this point in time is pretty fairly accurate, because it was like, what, after 12 hours or so of the quest being out, almost already over 500,000 Tormented Demons were killed, which by that point is a good enough sample size to kind of give us an idea of what the drop rates are. Let's be honest. So let me go ahead and pull that up so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Okay, so this is the Tormented Demon. Okay, we'll go to their drop rate so you can see what it's saying. Okay, so these are the drops, right? You got two uniques, the Tormented Synapse, which is used to create the new Demon Bane weapons. Then you have the Bone Claw. Bone Claw, not Bone Claws. Why is it singular? Well, it's because of the fact that you need two of these to make the new Bone Claws, or aka the Burning Claws that we all voted for. No one voted for them to be dropped in sets of one, like needing and being dropped in parts. Like, why? Like, why? Like, okay. Anyways, let's quickly go over this loot table so you can kind of get an idea of just how dog shit, utter dog shit this table is. It's so bad. God damn. I am not joking when I say that you literally make no money. And when I say no money, I'm not exaggerating and saying, oh, you make very little money that is practically no money. No, I mean you literally make like no money. It's garbage, because almost all of the value from the common drops comes from the ashes that the Tormented Demons drop. And, you know, considering they're demons, all demons drop ashes. Literally almost majority of the value from your drops comes just from the infernal ashes that they drop, which is terrible. And let's be honest, no one really picks up ashes in terms of like trying to make money, not unless you're like down bad. No one really picks up ashes. You more likely will just bury them for the prayer XP, or if you have the Sanctifier, it just automatically gets scattered for you and you automatically get the prayer XP. In that case, it's, yeah, that's just terrible. I am not joking when I say that I had grinded out about 120 Tormented Demons yesterday when the quest came out. 120 tormented demons in a row. Took me about anywhere between 3 to 5 hours for me to do so. Don't remember the exact time frame. Anywhere between 3 to 5 hours. Killing just one takes a while. Like, it's not a quick kill. Like they have like over 600 HP. And I'm using best in slot gear, and it still takes me a while to kill just one. I can only imagine how long it's going to take my iron, which is in the mid game, with mid-level gear, barely mid-level gear, to try and kill one of those. I can only imagine how long it's going to take, like, that account. It's going to be ridiculous. So with that in mind, so in BIS gear, I'm getting between 20 to 30 kills an hour in BIS gear with max combat stats. Okay, and this is the projected drop rate for these items, these uniques. The Tormented Synapse, again, used to make the Demon Bane weapons, is about 1 in 500. 1 in 500. So if let's be conservative and say I'm getting about 20 kills per hour in max combat stats with best in slot gear. Let's do the math. All right. How long would it take me to get 500 kills, assuming I get a synapse on rate? All right. 500 divided by 20, 25. It'll take me about 25 hours on average to get a singular synapse. And I need 3 of them. Are you joking? Like, are you fucking joking? That's garbage. And the Demon Bane weapons are mid-tier weapons. Mid-tier weapons. They're for the mid game. Why is that grind so fucking long? Like, within my 5 hours for a mid-tier weapon or piece of gear, period, I should be able to expect at least something within my 5 hours or so of grinding out. Between my 120 kills of the Tormented Demons, I should have probably expected at least something by then. If this was like a more expected drop table for a mid-piece of gear. Like, honestly, like, that doesn't make sense. The Bone Claw is about a 1 in 625 chance. And again, you need 2 of these. 2 of them. So 1 in 625 twice to make a pair of Bone Claws, which are just a worse Dragon Claws. Like, it's just bonkers. Like, why? Now, for context, okay, I wouldn't be nearly as upset about this if the normal loot was actually somewhat decent to keep me afloat. They'd be like, all right, you know, this kind of sucks. I'm sitting here for so long, especially if I'm expected to sit here for over 100 hours. Over 100 hours to get all copies of the uniques I need to make these weapons. Over 100 hours. If the common loot table was actually decent enough that I could at least get some sort of resources back amongst that time, so it doesn't feel like a complete waste of time, then it would be okay. But that's also garbage too. Let's take a look at the common loot table. Okay, so the runes and ammunition. I'm gonna tell you right now, the runes and ammunition section of this table is literally the best part of this entire table. Okay, and it's also not that great. Okay, you have fire runes, which are a very common dropping between 150 to 250. Who, like, no one cares about, like, who gives a shit about fire runes? They're worthless. Even for irons. Irons buy thousands of fire runes from, like, magic shops for very little GP. Okay, chaos runes. Okay, something. Still, not really a big deal. Rune arrows. These are a little bit better. You only get maybe like about 40k worth of rune arrows at best when they do drop. Why did this just go up? Okay, then you have soul runes, which is honestly probably one of the best drops in this entire table. This is literally some of the best stuff in this entire table, which is garbage. Let's go to the rest of it so you can see why. Okay, so we got herbs. Okay, not that big deal. A lot of monsters drop herbs, okay? Except that they only drop one herb for any herb. For any herb, it's just one. It's just singular one. They're kind of rare, okay? But even then, it's still just one. Like, why is it singular? Again, this is a Grandmaster quest. And these guys take a long time to kill. In Bisque gear max combat stats, I'm getting about 20 to 30 kills. On my iron, I'm probably going to barely get 10 an hour, 10 kills an hour. Let's be honest. Maybe 10, 15. This is not going to cut it. This just does not suit the rewards for a Grandmaster quest. For a very hard, or not very hard, but a very long time to kill NPC. Again, the seeds. There's a ton of seeds. I don't know why there's so many fucking seeds on this drop table for this monster. Can we please cut out some of the less desirable seeds for, again, a Grandmaster quest monster? And oh, what do you know? They also only drop quantities of one seed. Wow. God, I really love my singular poison ivy seed from a level like 600 monster with 600 HP. Really, really gets your blood pumping, doesn't it? Like, what the no. Consumables, I will say this is probably the only thing about this drop table that I actually think is kind of cool. And I actually like are these new, like, they're supposed to be like parts of the demons that have fallen off. You can like consume part of the demon in order to like power you up and stuff. I think that's kind of cool. It's a different mechanic, different take on stuff, and I don't know, I think that's interesting. They have smoldering glands. They're basically like prayer enhances from Chamber of Zarek, if you've ever done that. Basically they or they're very similar to the moths from TOA. They restore your prayer over time. Very cool. I think that's pretty cool. Like, they essentially serve as your supply drops, which I think is a really cool take on supply drops. Smoldering pile of flesh. You can eat it off the ground multiple times to heal yourself, and it can overheal you too. So it's almost like an anglerfish that you can eat multiple times. It's like, that's sick. And then we have a smoldering heart, which essentially acts like an overload, like a temporary overload. Again, really sick. I think that's really cool. And they occasionally drop prayer pots, but overall, like, I mean, that just helps you stay at the demons longer. Other than that, you get these every once in a while. The other section is probably also some of the best loot on the table, and it's still pretty bad. Like dragon arrow tips, literally, I think probably the best drop in the entire table, and you only get like 40k's worth of dragon arrow tips. And it's also 1 in 78, which on average will probably, in Bisque gear at max combat stats, on average you're probably expecting one of these drops every, what, 4 hours? For 40k? Fantastic. Bravo. Bravo. Don't you feel accomplished? Like, Jesus, it's just so bad. Again, most of these drop in quantities of one. Like, one, like I just don't understand. So like showing this, maybe you guys who haven't done it yet can get an idea of like why this just feels so fucking bad to kill these demons, because getting there is a hike. It takes a while to just run to the tormented demon spot, because there's no shortcut to get there. Literally, the Tears to Guthix teleport from a games necklace is the closest teleport, and you still have to like run all the way there, and it takes like 5-10 minutes just to run there. And then you have to spend forever just killing them, and then when you do kill them, you only get one fucking herb or one seed, and then you're expected to stay there for like 100 hours just to get all of the Demon Bane weapons or the Bone Claws that you wanted, which are literally the whole reason why you're there in the first place. Like honestly, the common loot table might as well just not be there because of how terrible it is. I am not joking when I say, when I grinded out about maybe 4 or 5 hours worth of Tormented Demons yesterday, I killed 120 of them. I made like about 170k total, and they were almost entirely from this right here, rune arrows and soul runes, and this table right here, almost entirely just from this. It's just so bad, like quite literally. Even when I get like these really rare, expensive seeds or herbs on the ground, because I only get one of them, I don't even bother picking them up, to be honest. It's just not worth it. They're not even noted either, so it's not like I can stack them in my inventory and be like, all right, it's like, since they're stackable, I'll pick them up along the way. No, they're not even noted, so like they just take up inventory space. It's just bad. It's just so bad. I don't know who decided this. Anyways, that's a bit of a rant. Let's go moving on. I do want to kind of showcase some of the feedback that I've been talking about within the community. So we'll be taking a look at some of like examples of the Reddit posts that people have been posting, just so you can understand. Okay, so oh wait, I actually forgot. I forgot to actually go over the rest of the blog post that we're talking about. Okay, so for the blog post, we're talking about the loot tables. So looking to try and boost or look at the loot tables. Okay, let me actually read some of this. They said, as we have with most releases as of late, we opted for a more cautious loot table than an overly generous one. This has worked well for us in the health of the game, and is something we'll continue to do. That being said, we hear you loud and clear. The Tormented Demon loot tables need some work. We'll be taking the time to get this right and making sure that we're making a decision that's well informed by data as well as your feedback. We'll be looking We'll be looking to speak in more detail on these next week when we have more data points for factors like kills per hour and or unique prices. Which, by the way, I'm gonna touch on unique prices here in a moment, because I actually just read a Reddit post where Mod Kieran actually gave some feedback about designing loot or like unique like drop rates around price points, which everyone's kind of flaming him because it's just like a shit idea, because then you end up with a nightmare and Fasani's nightmare type situation, where, by the way, a lot of people are making comparisons between Tormented Demon and the nightmare, because they're almost exactly the same. Like, their situations are almost exactly the same. It's laughable how they just didn't see this coming. It's just crazy. Like, both enemies literally have a really long like run just to get there, like a big ass hike. Okay, they both have really shitty common loot tables that you're really not making any money at all from them. I probably would even say that actually I'm not gonna go there. Yeah, you're not making any money at all from their common loot tables. Their drop rates for their uniques are just way too absurdly high for like no reason other than to just artificially inflate their price points, which I would argue, and there's been a lot of people arguing, that that's just not how you should design drop rates for items. Like, an item's drop rate should be according to its power level on the progression scale. That should just be how it is. If an item ends up crashing in price over time, then so be it. it's a popular item. What can I say? Like, people like the item. Like, in my personal opinion, you should never compromise good, fun gameplay, engaging gameplay, just because of an item's price point. I would rather have an item be cheap to buy off the Grand Exchange, but still feel good to obtain when you're fighting the monster, over artificially high drop rates just to get this mid-tier item that's really expensive. Like, because let's be honest, you're not going to use the item if it's mid-tier, and you don't need the item because it's mid-tier. You're probably just going to sell for the money if it's artificially inflated. That's literally the only reason. At that point, it literally doesn't even matter what the item is, because it's just artificially inflated. You're not there for the item anymore. You're just there for the money. In which case, I feel like that just kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. Anyways, they also mentioned it's also worth pointing out that some of the intricacies of the demon shield mechanics and ways to really maximize your damage output and kills per hour don't seem to be particularly widespread. We're especially interested to see how the unique rates stack up as people get more efficient with their kills or start taking on multiple tormented demons at once. Oh, on that note, apparently I've heard that the tormented demon shields mechanic is bugged. I'm not even gonna lie, I did not even know they had a shield mechanic. It was not obvious to me at all from the get-go. Yeah, apparently like that fiery like flame spin thing that they always do, apparently that is their shield, which I would have never known. Like, there's no, how are you supposed to know that's a shield? It just looks like an attack, and I just assumed it was their attack animation the entire time, to be honest. So apparently that's bugged. Okay, cool. And there's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of dead click areas in the area where you fight the tormented demons too. I was encountering this a lot during my stream yesterday when I was killing them. Like, I would try to click on a tile to go there to avoid one of their special attacks, and I was just not allowed to go to that tile. It would not let me. But if I clicked on the tile next to that tile, then I would go stand on the original tile I wanted to click on, but not the actual tile I clicked on. It was very janky, like very buggy. On top of the fact too that a lot of the tormented demons, like pathing and like the way they aggro, just seems broken. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. I think I actually found a clip on Reddit of someone. Okay, so like here, for example, someone literally said, this is the title of it. All right, okay, so here is it. This guy right here is literally fighting one of his own tormented demons. He's got it all to himself. Okay, he's clearly fighting it. It's half HP. They're literally in the middle of combat, smacking each other. All right, there it is. He avoids a special attack. He goes back to attack, and the demon just fucks off, and he gets messages that someone else is fighting that. What? Like, what? It's not even attacking anybody. It just fucked off and just said, nah, I don't want to fight you anymore. Like, what? And this happened a lot. It happens so much, and it, like, I don't know if it's still happening right now, but I think it still is. It's just so bad. Like, you'll literally be in the middle of fighting a demon, and then, like, out of nowhere, it'll be like, nah, I want to go fight this guy now. Like, bro, that is not how aggro works in this game. It's just so bad. And then, like, on top of it too, like, out of nowhere, you'll be like because of that, if you're fighting one demon and then somebody else is fighting another demon, out of nowhere, their demon will just come and start attacking you while you're fighting your demon. So you just have like 3 demons just like jump you, just abandon their fighters out of nowhere just to go jump you. it's kind of funny when you hear it, but it's just terrible. Because actually, if I can find a clip of it happening to me last night, because that happened to me, I'm just like, whoa, 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 what the heck is happening here? Like, from what I understood, there's supposed to be like there's supposed to be a multi-combat areas for that sort of thing to happen, but like they aren't actually truly multi-combat. It's like, and you don't actually know where these areas are because there's no multi-combat symbol. There's not even a singles plus like symbol anywhere for that matter. Like it's just so bad. It's just so bad. Yeah, just play the rest of this out. Like he's literally, yeah, and then the demon ends up he just starts attacking this dude in the corner who is literally nowhere near, and then he logs off. It's like, what the heck? And he still can't attack the demon. Okay, now he can attack the demon because the dude logged off, and it took a billion years for that to happen. Like, why, Jamflex? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, here's another common argument that like everyone just like assumed was common sense, but for some reason Jagex just seems to forget about common sense sometimes. Like, I just don't understand. The meme literally says higher level creatures should drop higher level loot. Yeah. That's just like that makes sense to me. That's literally like gaming 101, is it not? Like, it's just so bad. Just so bad. I want to see if I can find that mod reply that I mentioned, but yeah. See, like right here, this guy said shouldn't need uniques to make the drops worth it. Exactly. Like, yeah. That's what else? Oh yes, so this is very similar to what I was saying. So this guy literally says in his post, loot from 16 minutes of tormented demons on task versus 16 minutes of men, just like level 2 men in Edgeville, right? His loot tab says, loot tracker I should say, it says he kills about in about the same amount of time, mind you, in about 92k worth of GP killing men versus 70k of GP killing tormented demons. 16 minutes of killing men, you literally got more money killing men than you do killing tormented demons. That's how terrible the common loot table is for tormented demon. It's just like, that has to change. It's so bad. This has 2.5 thousand likes, and I just gave it an upvote because, like, there's, again, going back to that previous post, higher level monsters should give better loot, higher level loot. Like, that's just gaming 101. Yeah, that's just insane. Okay. There's a lot of people comparing the terrible loot table for tormented demons to zombie pirates. A lot of people discussing how, like, why the heck is it that people like Jagex is being super cautious about their loot tables for tormented demons, but then they release zombie pirates like just a couple months ago or so that literally shits out like 3-4 mil an hour for 0 requirements. It's literally in like level what, 10-15 wilderness, very low level wilderness, and you can make millions just killing them. But God forbid that we put a good loot table on a end game quest, grandmaster level quest on a high level monster with a lot of HP that takes a long time to kill. God forbid we give them a good loot table. Like, this is like what I'm saying, that like they seem to have an issue with balance. And for some reason, it's consistent. Like their bad balancing just seems to be consistent, and it boggles my mind how it. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse now at this point. Let me show my last few points. Let me see if I can find this mod keyring comment just so I can go on it. Because here, maybe I think this might have been in it. Yes, I think this was it. Okay, so this post said, maybe unpopular opinion, unique rates should be built around Iron Man, and I agree. And this just completely goes back to my point of, you should have uniques. Their drop rate should be built around how it fits in the progression of an account. Okay, how good the item is reflected by their drop rate. Like that just seems common sense. Okay, there's a reason why, like the Tunic and Shadow and the Twisted Bow and the Scythe of Atur are some of the rarest items to obtain in the game. They're the mega rares because they're the best items in the game. Like that's why. Like that's just how it works. There's a reason why something like a Dragon Dagger is a pretty common drop once you get to a decent Slayer level, like the 70s and 80s Slayer level, because by that point you got high enough combat levels to fight high enough level monsters where that makes sense at that point in your account's progression. Like, so yeah, I agree that drop rates should essentially be built around Iron Man, or maybe you don't like Iron Man, just replace the word, like this guy says, take the word Iron Man and replace it with the word progression. Are you still hostile to the idea? Okay, if we just say unpopular opinion, unique rates should be built around progression, no one's gonna have an argument against that, because that just makes sense. And part of what I like about Iron Man is that the Iron Man game mode is literally the personification of progression, because you have to obtain everything yourself. You're literally going through every single point of progression, so you feel the impact of something being too attainable or not attainable enough on a much greater scale than main accounts. Just straight up. So yeah, let me see if I can find my mod Kieran's reply, because I had to reply to it too. Where is it? Is there a link to it somewhere? Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so Mod Kieran replied to this post. He said, I agree, mostly this would be ideal. The case I'm keen to aim for is that there is a meaningful monetary progression ladder for mains. For example, slash weapons. Using slash weapons as an example. Okay. Cool sword should be about 100k. Let me zoom in a little more for you guys. Is that too much? Okay, here it is. So, cool sword should be about 100k. Really cool sword should be about 15 mil. Uber cool sword should be about 100 mil. Realistically, they have requirements to, say, maybe 70, 75, and 80. It's important that the really cool sword, so the second one, doesn't end up so worthless it's almost close to 100k, which is about the same value as the cool sword, the first one. It just removes the need for cool sword as an option, except for players between 70 and 75. So basically you don't have the level yet to use the really cool sword, which is obviously done relatively easily. All of this is to say, we do see monetary progression as a means to have different tiers of power too, which means we do have to care about the price within reason, and it's very easy for a non-bis weapon, like really cool sword, to be oversupplied, given that the uber cool sword isn't that out of reach. Hence the kind of contradiction I've spoken about a bit. Niche stuff ends up wanting to be quite rare if it wants to sit in a nice price progression tier. We don't necessarily have all the answers, but we're aiming for a sweet spot which can be hard to get right. Ultimately, it is on us to design things in such a way that the player-driven economy would make this the case. I think it's actually a lot easier to get it right if the regular loot is poor, such as the regular loot is not really an incentive. Basically, the regular loot is not an incentive to participate in an encounter. So, in the example of Tormented Demons, your main incentive is merely the price of the claws / synapse. If the price is too low as a mean, you choose to do something else, thus lowering the supply until it reaches some sort of equilibrium with demand. Lots for us to continue thinking about, but really this is all to say these are the sort of things we are considering, and we do care about getting it right. It really is not true that we're trying to balance things around streamers doing 15-hour sessions and artificially extend life of content. So I get what they're saying here, but I also think they're just completely missing the point, which is, at the end of the day, kind of like what I said earlier, the effort needed, or should I say the effort done to obtain the item needs to be engaging enough for you to still want to get the item. Like, they're just like, at the end of the day, there's still a sense of like cost benefit analysis while you're fighting these things. Like, quite literally, after my 120 kills yesterday, for example, I just decided this isn't worth doing. Even on my iron, it's probably not worth doing in its current iteration. They're just too damn rare for me to want to try and grind it on my iron. I would literally be using way too many supplies before I even get my first synapse. That, like, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And like, yeah, like I would probably end up using all my supplies just to get my first synapse on my iron. Let's just be honest. Or at least all of my prayer restoration supplies. I have like food for days, but not enough prayer restore. So, and even on my main, I'm literally using best in slot gear, max combat stats, and because I make literally like 0 GP on the main fighting these things, and I don't want to spend 100 hours like to get the uniques here. I really don't. Now granted, the only reason I'm really here on the main is for collection log and I guess money along the way. Mostly for collection log, because I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for collection log, I would say nope, not doing it. It's not worth it. Even right now, I'm just saying nope, not doing it right now. I'll come back to it later at some point. Maybe I might do some here and there for a Slayer task, because they count as greater demons, I believe, the Tormented Demons. So if I ever get a greater demons task, I'll come here for my task, and maybe I get something along the way. You know what I mean? But I don't think I'm ever going to sit here and camp it anymore, at least not until they buff the drop rates, because it's just ridiculous. But part of the problem that I have with Mod Kieran's argument here is the fact that, like, in my personal opinion, nothing should be based around price points. Nothing. Okay, like I said before, all gear should be based around how good they are. That's just it. How good they are. Oh, I feel good. And I think it's also worth stating that if something ends up being cheap, that should be fine. That, like, it's totally okay for a bunch of random niche gear to be cheap. Like, there's so much content in this game that there's also a lot of gear that is not cheap. Like, that's just it at the end of the day. When you have an easily farmable monster, yeah, some things are just going to be cheap. So like if you artificially inflate the price, it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't, with nothing else going for it to keep you there. No one's going to do it. Even if the item is really good, even if the item is really expensive, not a lot of people are going to do it. And the best example, like I mentioned before, is Nightmare. Nightmare is probably my favorite boss, hands down, to fight against in this entire game. It's so much fun. It's so well designed. But because literally everything else related to the boss is just like terrible, most people just don't want to do it. It's just not worth their time. And I completely understand that. The only reason I'm there is because A, I have fun fighting the boss, and B, I'm a collection logger. I'm a completionist. So I have to go fight it anyways to try and get these items. So even though I'm not an Iron Man on my main account, obviously, I have to go through all of the grind anyways, like an Iron Man would. So I understand where a lot of the Iron Men are coming from in these aspects. I kind of want to take a look at the replies to Mod Kieran's post, or yeah, I guess comment here before we end up closing off for today's video. So let's see. If your top priority is getting items that hit a certain price point, then in my opinion, they're always going to be ridiculously rare, and probably increasingly so. As best in slot improves and gold value decreases, content has to take longer and longer. I don't know. I think botting real world trade and poorly designed drop rates have broken the economy, and therefore choosing drop rates based on item price is going to make the drop rates also broken. I would agree with that. Actually I upvoted that because I agreed with it. Yeah, basically, like they like their drop tables have just been so unbalanced lately in either good ways or bad ways, or both in some situations, that like they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. Let's be honest. Let's see. Let's see. I know you guys mean well, but almost every recent major PVM update has had to have the unique rates buffed within 2 weeks of release. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't think about that, but yeah, almost every single recent PVM within the last year or so has always had to have their drop rates adjusted in some way, shape, or form, which is crazy. Either your kills per hour approximations are way off, doubt this, as it should be easy to tell in testing and even harder to overestimate, or the team actually believes in the concept of high and unreasonable drop rates. Really seems like the game is being balanced around long play time to extend longevity of streamer and Iron Man play time. I don't agree on that last point, but again, I just don't like them balancing it around price points. Again, it's just like Mod Kieran practically admitted to artificially inflating price points. That's basically what it came down to. He didn't say that directly, but that's kind of what was implied. And I just don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's healthy at all for the game. Again, I would rather have fun with a cheap weapon that fits the progression of my count, rather than not have fun trying to obtain said weapon, and then give up, and then maybe even ultimately just stop playing RuneScape. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just terrible. Kieran, the obvious answer to keep the stuff from being value sunk into the ground is to put it in places that don't have pets so that endgame players don't camp it to death. As for this point, I'm inclined to give you the benefit of the doubt and trust that you're being honest, in which case I'd as respectfully as possible suggest perhaps you guys are a bit out of touch in this case. I completely agree. I'm speaking as someone with near infinite time to play this game, 2 max accounts, 1 being Iron. Each new update proves you guys are not making content that is respectful of the player's time. Yeah. So, yeah, it seems a lot of people are kind of in the same sentiment here. But anyways, I think I'm going to end the video here for today, guys. Let me know in the comment section how you liked this type of video format, if you'd like the longer videos. I do want to make longer videos like this every once in a while. So obviously, of course, I'll have my guide videos on the channel, the shorter videos, the more normal length videos, as my main source. But when it comes to news and like what you call it, discussion and controversy within the community about the game, I think having these longer form videos are pretty nice to have on the channel. So without further ado, go ahead and leave a comment about your thoughts on today's topic in the comment section down below. Would really appreciate it. I would appreciate if you leave a comment more over leaving a like on the video. If you want to leave a like, that's great, but leaving comments boosts the algorithm for the channel a lot more than leaving likes. And of course, subscribe if you enjoyed this content. So without further ado, my name is Brian. Go ahead and check out my Discord if you're interested. I'm always willing to help out players, by the way, even if you're a mid-tier or mid-game or early game player. I'm always helping people out in the Discord. So if you need help or you just have a question to ask, just, check in, stop on by, say hi. I'm also starting up a friends chat that anybody can join in the game. It's going to be called It's Brian IRL. As the name for the friends chat. So if you want to join that and just hang out, you don't need to be in the clan. You can just join the friends chat and hang out and talk to people. And I'll be in it regularly too, so I'll be able to talk to you guys too. So anyways, I'll see you guys later. Hope you have a good one. Peace out.